Councillor Rose.
Yeah.
And Councillor Morell.
Yeah, I'm here.
Very good in that case. Now then, I note that I've got two questions to the applicant agent, Councillor Rose, followed by Councillor Newlands. Councillor Rose, please ask your question.
Thank you, Chair. Now, my question to the applicants is picking up on the issue that we discussed with the objectives.
I'm really sorry, Councillor Rose. Can I ask you to speak up? I'm having difficulty hearing.
All right. My question is to the applicants, picking up the theme of the residents' concerns in relation to the proximity of their rear gardens to the ground floor flat open spaces and gardens. I'd like the applicant to explain the boundary treatment and the measures they've taken as the design evolved to address the concerns of residents along Balmoral Road, and what they've done to mitigate the impacts or concerns around overlooking in particular, as well as noise transfer. And
sorry, Councillor Rose, there's a lot there. Can I suggest that they answer the initial question, that you can follow up? Okay. So who will respond to your question, I wonder?
I'm happy to answer that. Thank you for your question. I think a couple of points on this. So firstly, the distance between habitable rooms from first level upwards from the rear of Block B to the windows at the rear of Valmar Road are a minimum of 21 metres in line with residential standards. So there's a suitable distance there that's supported by the policy standard for that distance. At ground floor, it's obviously a bit closer where Valmar Road properties have been extended, but there's an existing wall there that we're intending to retain, and therefore the privacy issues at ground floor are avoided through that wall. During the course of this application, and I'm sure we'll come on to some of the changes that have been made more broadly, but Block B has been refined as we've gone on, and it has slimmed down. So it was initially a slightly wider pre-application stage, and to achieve those suitable distances to habitable rooms, it was slimmed down. And we've also got to be mindful of the distance across to the main block, and achieving excess of 12 metres across the main block. So in terms of privacy, we feel we meet the standards. In terms of noise, and noise is clearly an important issue, particularly at the moment, and that's something we've been very mindful of. I think it's worth remembering at the moment this is an industrial estate, and units 3 to 7 that are closest to Valmar Road are warehouse units, which if used for lawful use, although they're empty now, when they were in use, could be used without restriction, and there'd be lots of coming and going and a lot of noise. So we feel a residential neighbour to the Valmar Road properties is much more suitable and would hopefully be a lot quieter. And I think in terms of the performance of that building as well, it's obviously up to modern standards and high levels of insulation for noise. So I think that answers some of those points.
Very good. Councillor Rose, you had a further question.
It was around the boundary treatments and what you will do to ensure that that the residents are content with what will essentially be at the end of their gardens, and either any scope for landscaping for privacy and noise mitigation in the communal gardens and the private ones as well.
Okay, I will try and answer that. So in terms of the private gardens at the rear of Block B, obviously we were keen to maximise the amenity space, both private and communal, of this development. So we felt, given there's gardens at back onto the site, that would be an appropriate design and configuration of the scheme to have gardens backing onto gardens. In terms of the separation between those gardens, there's an existing wall which we intend to retain, which retains privacy for neighbours at ground floor. And as I mentioned earlier, as you go up, we achieve for 21 metres hab room to hab room. So in terms of points that were raised earlier, which I think relate to your question in terms of restricting hours of use of that communal space, I'm willing to sort of take further questions on that, but really that communal amenity space is there to serve this development, and given its location, it will have a degree of natural surveillance from the residential unit. So I feel that it would work well given the location of it, and would expect it to be an acceptable impact, especially compared to the current situation and current uses on the site.
Right, Johan. Thank you very much indeed. I'll now move on to Councillor Newens, followed by Councillor Hargrove and Morris. Councillor Newens.
Hello, thank you. Yes, I have a couple of questions. Firstly, I'd like to ask, to repeat the question that I asked earlier to officers in relation to paragraph 260 in the report, what the percentages of energy use are supplied on site. And also, I was going to ask if you had any comments in relation to the concerns that have been raised by objectors about the actual need for a hotel at this location. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor, for your concise questions. Who wishes to respond? John?
Yeah, thank you. Okay. Yeah, so I think, hi, Councillor, just on the point of the percentage of energy that is comes from renewable sources, 7% of the energy will be coming from renewable sources, and in terms of the hot water, 90% is supplied of the energy for the hot water supplied from the CHP. In addition, we have gone for a excellent rating on the BREEAM as it relates to the workspace.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then just to talk to the point around the need for a hotel. I mean, in terms of context, I think the hotel is one part of a mixed-use scheme, and in terms of square footage, actually the predominant use on site are for homes. So around 40% of square footage is for homes, and then roughly 30% for hotel and 30% for workspace. And each part of that really brings its own benefits in terms of jobs and homes and creating a vibrant, dynamic town centre. But in terms of specifically on hotel demand, we had commissioned some research to be done by CBRE, who are considered to be the leaders in the hotel market. And their results show that there is actually ample demand for a hotel, and the council's own assessment sort of agrees with that conclusion. As the officer stated, most of the hotels in Southwark are concentrated in the north side of the borough. And in Camberwell, really there are only sort of 2 hotels, and they are both around sort of the 2-star type of grading. So our scheme would bring a completely new offering to the market, which really have quite substantial benefits. In terms of, I think, catalysing new investment in the high street and realising the council's ambitions to turn Denmark Hill from a place that really people just pass through at the moment to somewhere where they actually dwell and spend money, and something that activates the town centre, I think actually will be a huge contribution. I should also say that hotel is an enabler for providing some of the other uses on site in terms of affordable homes and affordable workspace. And it also provides the 24/7 on-site management, which helps integrate with the workspace. So I'd say there is actually very strong demand for a hotel. Of course, it does depend on where you're pitching the hotel, what the overall proposition is, but we feel our proposition is extremely strong, and there is ample demand for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
I suppose I should ask at this point, Ravi, in terms of the report that you've commissioned, was that shared with the planning department, with planning officers?
Yes, Chair, it was shared, and I believe the officers subsequently had sort of discussions with the representative at CBRE to sort of go through that in great detail.
Rightio. And do you wish to respond to the objectors? I think at least, I suppose, a local competitor comment that there has been, notwithstanding COVID, of course, that the businesses are struggling to attract customers, and therefore this will add to what is a localized, well, potentially localized glut of hotel space based upon current demand. You wish to respond to that?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I feel I feel for you as a competitor, in the sense that nobody wants another sort of business to compete, and I understand that. But I really do feel CBRE have gone into quite some detail around the demand drivers, and there are many. We've got 2 huge hotels in Camberwell, which people find it really difficult to find places to stay. People anecdotally have said so much to us about not being having anywhere for relatives to stay. That's of a decent sort of and with respect, but a really high level quality. And I think there's also something about how we are looking to integrate this hotel into the sort of entire creative sort of quarter that we're creating. And there's it's a very, very different proposition. It's something where even in terms of design, it's being designed alongside Camberwell College of Arts. Local artisans are going to be making the furniture and sort of making the fabrics. There's going to be a very high quality of provenance in terms of the food. You'll find the coffee comes from Old Spike Roastery in Peckham, and the beer comes from Clarkshaw Brewery. And you'll see tables which have been made, in the Romakery and Loughborough Junction. So, there's a very different kind of ethos behind this hotel. And actually, in terms of COVID, it's probably just worth mentioning. But, yes, short term, there have been some really sort of bad impacts of COVID in terms of the leisure business. But actually, we see long term the trend being much more that guests want to be in somewhere which is authentic, has a real story, has great transport links, but isn't necessarily right in the centre of town. And we think that, actually long term, that is really where people are going to want to stay, with something which is dynamic, which has workspace around it, and is really part of a strong community.
Thank you for that response. Thank you. That's some clarification. Thank you. I'll now move on to other committee members' questions. I note here that Councillor Hargrove and followed by Councillor Morris. Councillor Hargrove, please ask your question.
Thank you for your presentation. I was going to, and I will ask about construction, but I wanted to follow up on something that you said to an earlier question about the hotels in Camberwell. And I really appreciate what you're saying about the efforts you're making to be unique and to have a good quality hotel. But can you say with any certainty that those hotels in Camberwell currently are 2-star?
Hi, Councillor. I don't. Yes, I think I can actually. I mean, I think it could be debatable whether it's 2 or 3-star, but it's definitely of a different offering than we would provide. I believe one of the hotels, I believe it's the Church Street Hotel, has bathrooms which are outside of the room and that sort of thing. So there is probably room in the market for everyone at the level that they're pitching. But I would say that we are sort of trying to provide an experience which is sort of altogether different.
My question regarding construction is, in terms of conditions on construction, would you be able to provide a contact number that people could contact anytime during the construction is going on? And what would your view be on not having any construction at a weekend?
Shall I answer that? Thank you for that question. There's, as you'll be aware, there's a draft condition requiring an construction environmental management plan to be submitted to and approved before development commences, and that covers a huge broad range of issues that we need to work through if this gets consent and before it gets built out. So there's a huge amount of detail that would need to be agreed with officers before this commences. In terms of construction hours, I mean, as you're aware, with the current situation, the sort of governmental advice has been to extend construction hours rather than restrict them in order to try and get things going again. Now, I'm not saying we're asking for that, but that certainly is what's been applied on other schemes. So I think there needs to be a good reason to restrict any weekend construction, but I think I'd need to revert to Res Publica to answer that.
Yeah, I think, John, as you say, as part of the overall construction management plan, we could look to, to talk that through with officers. And I think in terms of the question around having a dedicated line that someone could always call, well, that certainly will be provided. And, just to say, sort of throughout this process, we've tried to make ourselves very available. We've written letters to all the residents on multiple occasions, some of which have been taken up for cups of tea in people's homes. And so we try to really put ourselves out there. And as I said, we're thinking about this very long term and want to be a good neighbour. So we'll absolutely provide, a phone number that people can call during construction.
Can I just have a very quick follow up, Chair? Just very quickly.
If it's on the question,
It's on the it's just a follow up on that. Yeah, and the question is, I really appreciate you're going to provide a phone line that people can call on. Will there be someone to answer that as well? Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that's a very important question. Yes, there absolutely will be. Yes, there absolutely will.
Very good. All right, and just so for the committee members, I'm not going to take further questions on weekend construction work. I'll leave that to the construction management plan, and that's a negotiation between the applicant and officers. I don't think we should be not able to make a determination as to whether or not that should occur or not. It's not really, strictly speaking, part of our planning policy. If we leave it, that's an operational matter. We'll leave it to the applicant and officers to decide, and hopefully in consultation with the local community. All righty. So let's move on to Councillor Morris.
Thank you, Chair. My question has been asked and answered. Thank you.
Oh, you're so kind. Thank you. Can I just go back to Ravi as regards the hotel space and sorry, Councillor Whittam, did you want to ask a question?
Yes, I did.
I don't. I see you now. Right. Please ask your question. Go ahead.
I'm very concerned about the vehicle movements within the site. There's only one way in for vehicles, and they will have to do 3-point turns to come out. So there will be lots of beeping as these lorries and vans turn round. Also, there's no sort of segregated bit for cycles. They will come in, I presume, under the building at Denmark Hill, or through Valmore Road, or through Milk, whatever it's called, place. But there's no separate cycle access. So they will have to mingle with the pedestrians and with the larger lorries. Can you talk to that, please?
Thank you. If I start, thank you again for that question. We've got our transport consultant here if we want a bit more detail, but if I start by answering that, I mean, I think, again, just to reiterate the point, at the moment, it is an industrial estate, and historically there'd be large HGVs coming in and out of this site in association with those uses that are there at the moment. So that's the baseline position that it's assessed on. Now, yes, we're not, there are going to be an increase in movements with this new development, and that will be from Valmore Road, from the vehicular access point. But it's been designed in a way where vehicles can come in forward gear and can leave in forward gear and turn around on the site. So actually, we feel that would reduce impact on Valmore Road. I think in terms of the cycle routes through, I mean, that's been a really key part of the vision for this site and for the draft site allocation, to create a new pedestrian and cycle route through this site. And we're very, very keen that that's delivered and delivered well. So first and foremost, this is a new pedestrian and cycle route through the site to link Valmore Road and Denmark Hill, which was very much welcomed through our consultation process, and also Milkwell Yard to the south, a connection that currently just doesn't exist. So first and foremost, it is pedestrian and cycles, and it's designed in that way. And yes, it will be shared with some servicing which will need to happen. But again, there's a condition requiring a delivery and service management plan, and that will be managed by the development, by the hotel, by the overall development, so that deliveries can be managed and are managed within certain hours as well. So I hope that answers it, but if not, I can bring in our transport consultant who may be able to add some more detail.
So can I just ask one follow-up?
Hold on, Councillor Whittam. First of all, I'm pleased that Gerald has now made references. I would ask members of the public not to make comments in the chat room, and committee members, please do not respond to members of the public. Alrighty, okay, please, okay. I will not call out the name. Okay, thank you. Councillor Whittam, continue.
So will there be any different surface treatment as to where the cycle should be going, or are they just weaving around wherever they feel like it?
Well, the whole route will be landscaped, and we've proposed a hard landscaping along that route. There won't be a dedicated cycle lane. We didn't feel that was appropriate and part of the vision for creating this new quarter. So it is a shared space.
So but the bit outside the hotel where the cafe is and where there's tables in your CGI images, the bicycles will have to just weave their way through the tables.
The seating won't extend right across that route. It will extend coming out of the building to create animation, some activity there and some life there. So it's not a wall of tables and chairs that would stop people coming.
A lot of people in the images as well, all standing chatting to each other. So
it's a fair point. I mean, I think they
I'm allowed to continue because it is pretty obvious, but I think maybe Councillor Whittam, and forgive me for John Ferguson, I think Councillor Whittam, the plans are the plans, they're laid out. You've made an observation, okay? You've had a response to your observation, and we can all see it for ourselves. That there isn't a dedicated cycle route, and I've acknowledged that as part of the overall scheme. I suppose the real question is the numbers of cyclists you're anticipating flowing through. We didn't question Alex earlier on in terms of vehicular access as well, and the numbers of vehicles that might be accessing the site. But I suppose the two are intertwined. And if I may, and I know you could ask the question yourself, but I'll ask it anyway. How many vehicles traffic do you anticipate in and out of the site, and how many cyclists are you anticipating in and out of the site during any 1 hour, for example?
Thank you. I think this is probably the best time to bring in Damien, our transport consultant, if that is okay. Okay, and if you could, who's this, sorry, your transport consultant? Get up on my screen. Damien. I've got here, Damien Tuggett. Oh yes, if you could, first of all, Damien, I can't see you. Are you there?
I am. Good evening, Chair.
Very good. Can I ask you formally, before you begin, just to introduce yourself and confirm the organisation that you work for?
My name is Damien Tuggett. I'm a director at Markides Associates. We've been providing transport and highways advice to the applicant on this scheme.
Very good. Are you able to respond to the question I posed and Councillor Whittam's posed in regards to vehicular access and the frequency of those vehicular access during a typical hour?
Yes, well, in terms of the majority of trips to the site are going to be delivery and servicing trips. Obviously, there's only very few car parking spaces, and there'll be predominantly taxis will drop off from Denmark Hill. We're estimating that across the week there'll be about 95 delivery and servicing trips. Now, some of those will be your typical Royal Mail, some of those will be trips to the hotel, such as laundry and refuse collection and so on. So across the day, you're probably looking at about 12-ish trips. Let's assume we've got a 12-hour delivery profile. We're probably looking at about 1 to 2 delivery trips per hour.
1 to 2 per hour, right here. Duly noted. And if I may ask you as regards cyclists, it is accessible by cyclists, they may or may not drive through, but what is your modelling suggest in terms of the number of cyclists and their safety, of course?
Well, I think the question on safety is easier to answer because it's been designed as very much as a shared surface with pedestrian and cycle priority. The route onto Valmar Road is essentially bollarded, so it allows pedestrian and cycle permeability, but not certainly a free fall for vehicles. Vehicles can't get out at Milkwell Way or on to Denmark Hill. So it's really going to be just cycles navigating the odd service vehicle, which will be on site at any one time. Now, there's good visibility across the site. We can't be definitive necessarily on the number of cyclists that will pass through the scheme, because obviously it opens up a new route connecting the area. But ultimately, it's going to be down to the number of vehicles which are on site at any one time, which is going to be minimal.
Fair enough. And that is the response to that question. Thank you very much, Damien, for your response. Councillor Whittam, do you have a further question? Very good. Thank you very much. You must forgive me, in our chat, it has been taken up by other extraneous discussion, but never mind. I see that, do I have a Councillor Morris? Did you want to ask a question?
No, Chair.
Not, right, okay. Maybe, oh, Councillor Morell, there you are. I've got the next person, yes.
Yeah, sorry, Chair. I might be out of the realms of planning, as you said, but I just want to ask, as we've noticed that everyone's home seems to become their office, with the construction management, it's only a comment, would they consider doing a plan which considers everywhere like an office like you would in the city, so it's 2 hours on, 2 hours off on noise when on construction site? Just consideration, just a point, so that people can have their meetings during the day and carry on with their work in their homes.
Can I, before, and maybe John Gould or others may wish to comment, that's clearly a relatively new condition that is in response to COVID. I'm not sure of the planning policy basis on which the question could be asked, and maybe either Simon or Vicky or John can now just clarify, because it's one of these obvious questions that would appear in future meetings, I'm sure, in response to the fact that myself also working from home, and therefore I might the effect of these developments might be far greater now that I'm at home than would otherwise be the case. Can you just can someone give us some guidance on how we might phrase such a question, and if it's a legitimate planning question? So who would wish to give us some guidance on this one first of all? John, Simon, Vicky, anyone respond? Simon.
Chair, I'm not sure whether we can fully answer that one. The thing about construction management plans is that they would be, they can take into account quite a number of different considerations, but I think the general idea would be that we'd not want to overcomplicate them. So there would be issues about the hours of operation of a construction site, but unless one of my colleagues has got a further insight into it, I would say that it would become quite a complex thing to try and get down to that sort of fine detail of planning the construction sequence.
Sorry, Simon, if I can add to that, Chair. Yes, within the construction management plan, irrespective of COVID-19 anyway, there is what we call the noise suppression measures that developer has to state how they're going to suppress noise. And one of the critical one is siting noisy equipment away from residential boundaries. They have to commit to that. So if they have a noisy equipment, they have to make sure the position is far from residential boundaries, and then they have to encapsulate that equipment as well. So it covers everything really, irrespective of COVID-19.
Gotcha.
There was a very tight site on Towbridge Road that we recently consented.
We shouldn't reference other sites.
Okay. But that had respite, 2 hours on, 2 hours off.
Yeah, again, Councillor Whittam, we're considering this application on its merit. Do you have a further question?
Chair, I think we've lost a councillor.
Oh, which councillor?
Barry, I think, has dropped out.
Councillor Hargroves, Chair. We will try and get him back, but we'll have to quickly take a break.
Yep, I will take a 5-minute interval. I'm sorry, 5-minute interval. Thank you. Hopefully. Oh, Councillor Hargrove, you're with us, are you? You're mute. You're mute, Councillor Hargrove.
I am back. I don't know what happened there.
Okay, excellent. And I just double check that committee members have returned all with us. Can I just do a quick roll call just for satisfy our constitutional side. Councillor Whittam, you're still with us? Councillor Whittam? Okay. She is.
Yes, she's here.
Yeah. Oh, Councillor Whittam, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Yeah, can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
We can now. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Councillor Hargrove, of course, you can still hear us. Councillor Hargrove, you mute? We lost him again?
Yes, no, I can hear you.
Okay, right, okay. I just need to do this quickly. Councillor Morris?
I'm here.
Councillor Newlands?
I'm here.
Councillor O'Brien?
Yes, sir.
Councillor Rose?
Yes, Chair.
Councillor Morell?
Yep, I'm here.
Excellent. In that case, let us continue. Thank you for.
Sorry, Chair. Could we just ask Councillor Hargroves at which point he lost connection, so we can do a little recap?
Yes, Councillor Hargroves, can you tell us what was the last thing you heard?
I can't remember. I was quite shocked that I got knocked out, and I wondered what had happened, whether everybody had got knocked out or not. But it wasn't very long ago. I immediately contacted on the WhatsApp group to say that I'd lost contact. So it wasn't very far back. I think you were speaking at the time, Chair.
Okay, I may have been making comment reference the construction management plan.
Yes, that was it. Yes,
indeed, and of course at that point Alex intervened in question.
No, I heard Alex as well.
Oh, you did. Oh, right.
Yeah.
In that case, you didn't miss much.
No.
In that case, that's fine. If I may, then, Councillor Whittam, you've completed your questions, haven't you? Fine, thank you very much. You must forgive me. I just want to reset my screen. It's closed, of course, which is the way forward. And Councillor Morell, we've taken care of. Are there further questions from the committee? Just making sure before I move on. In that case, then, I want to thank the applicant and applicant agent for their responses to committee questions. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much indeed. I'll now move on to supporters. Is there anyone present who live within 100 meters of the development site and wish to speak in support of the application?
I am Dickie from Valmar. I live on Valmar Road.
Oh, excellent. Welcome, Dickie. In that case, what I'm going to do in a moment, I'm going to invite you to make your presentation. I'll be able to check my clock. I'll give you 3 minutes to make your presentations. And of course, as you know, this meeting is being live streamed and recordings will be available on the Council's YouTube channel. So you may choose to switch off your camera and address the meeting with audio only. And again, and I think you've done it, when introducing yourself, please only give your first name and the block or street you live in, not the exact address. Fine, you've done it fine. And of course, ideally, your presentation to really lead the question you welcome from committee members. Is that okay? In that case, sure. I will start the clock now. You may begin.
Hi, I'm Dickie, and I'm a resident of Valmar Road. I live in close proximity to the proposed development, and I'm in support of the development. I've heard some of the objections and obviously understand that any construction or construction noise is obviously not desired, but I'm in favour of development and in favour of the provision of much needed affordable housing and residential housing too. And whilst I understand that the current provision of hotel within Camberwell, I think it's of my opinion that the hotel offering of this development is not of the same level and is of a different offering which will benefit the area, knowing that there's the current services such as the hospital and also the local provisions in the area, I think that it would be beneficial to have a higher standard of hotel offering. I think that the development and the developers up to this point have positively engaged with the creativity of Camberwell. I attended a recent art engagement with local artists, and it was nice to see that they were in support of developing what is actually currently an unused industrial site with a high quality design proposal. So in summary, I think that the scheme does support the local creativity of Camberwell and would be an asset. I'm in favour of the provision of a different offering for a hotel, and I agree that the majority of the hotels in Southwark are to the northwest, or at least north of Southwark Borough. And I'm understanding that construction is not desirable, but hopefully once over, then we'll have an asset to Camberwell that will improve the area.
Okay. Thank you very much for your presentation. Thank you very much. You've got ample time, but that's fine. Are there questions from the committee? Could you indicate, please? Any questions from the committee? If
yes,
Councillor Newlands, yes, go ahead.
Sorry, I couldn't find me. Sorry. Yes, thank you. Sorry to have butted in and not raised my hand in the correct way. I just wanted to ask the supporter whether how long have you lived in Balmoral Road and in the area?
I've lived 5 years.
Thank you.
In the area, I've lived for 10 years, but Balmoral Road specifically 5 years.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. If that's the only question, that's fine. In that case, if there are no other questions from the committee, I want to thank you very much for your presentation. Thank you for contributing to this committee meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you, Dickie. And I'll now move on to, last but not least, of course, to ward councillors. Can I just confirm if Councillor Dixon-Farr is in the room? We cannot hear you. Hello, we cannot hear you.
I beg your pardon, Chair. Always the way I pressed the wrong button. My big moment, and I made a mistake straight away. Sorry.
Can I first of all request if you could just introduce yourself just for the meeting, and I'll explain.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. My name is Dora Dixon-File. I've been a councillor for Camberwell Green Ward, representing this area for 22 years.
Very good. Thank you very much. Now, Councillor Dixon-File, I'll give you 3 minutes to make your presentation with respect to office application. The time starts now.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, committee. Let me first of all say at the outset, this scheme is not perfect. And I say that because we've heard some of the residents here tonight who've expressed their concerns and their complaints. And we've heard from the owners of a local hotel, and we've heard from people who live in Valmar Road. So we hear that. Myself and my other 2 ward colleagues who can't be here tonight, Councillor Tom Flynn and Councillor Kieran Williams. And I should say that Councillor Kieran Williams has been dealing with this area, this development, the issues that some of the residents have raised already. He's been dealing with that, but he can't be here tonight. This company, let me say, that as I've been in this area for a long while now, and there have been issues over time with this particular industrial development. In fact, there's been issues with the shops on the corner of Valmar Road with parking and lack of consideration for pedestrians and people living in Valmar Road. So there are always issues, and we as local councillors have to look at the whole thing with a bit, we have to look at the whole thing and consider the bigger picture, basically. And so we've looked at, for example, job provision in what the developers, Risk Publica, are bringing to this site. We've looked at the fact that with the hotel will come jobs. We've looked at the fact that they've contributed through their consultation. This has been going on for quite a long time, at least I think about 3 years. We've had Risk Publica in the area talking to residents, talking to the local primary school. We've not had any complaints, objections from the primary school, and in fact, through the work that Republic have done in engage with artists, and I think the chap who just spoke, I think he said that he was an artist. I couldn't quite hear, but they've been engaging with quite a lot of the businesses, with the school, with local residents. They've had consultation projects, they've had events, etc. But however, having said that, you know, nothing is perfect, and we as local ward councillors have, you know, spoken to the residents and to Republic to say that we will keep an eye on this project. We will keep on pushing whatever they've said that they're not happy with. For example, they talked about the construction traffic. Of course, whenever you have a development of any size, you're going to have you know, industrial lorries, etc., in the area. But however, I mean, you know, as committee members on planning, that we have the Southwark Considerate Constructors Association. We have schemes that will actually pinpoint the fact that we want.
I'm sorry,
sorry. Okay, but I was just going to say that so as a whole, the three of us have said, looking on the plus side, that we do support this this scheme.
Very good. Thank you very much indeed. I see we have a question for you from Councillor Morell.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and thank you, Dora, for coming. Just as you say, you've been a councillor for 22 years, so you would most probably remember this as an active site, industrial site, and as the applicant has said, if it's lawful use, it would be quite busy and heavy and used fully. So I just wanted to get your take on how it was when it was a full site, to confirm what the applicant is saying or not confirm.
Not only do I remember it being very busy, but I also remember that we had a local councillor living in the street, so we were always kept busy with everything that happened, almost by the minute, by the second. And then it went quiet for a bit, and then we had the delivery people coming in, and again with their motorbikes, etc. It's been a very busy area, and it's been quite a sore point for some residents. Because it's been quiet for the last few weeks, you know, our caseload has reduced. But this scheme gives us the opportunity, one, to bring large size homes to the area, and you know, we need homes. We need hotel spaces. I hear what the gentleman who's owns the Church Hotel, but let me tell you that we've got lots of large estates in this area: the Wyndham Estate, the Elmington Estate, Poets Corner. We have the hospitals being mentioned, Kingswood Hospital. You know, people that have funerals, they have weddings, they haven't got places in their homes to put up relatives. So we need the space. And I'm sorry that I've heard that the use of hotel space is reduced. I would, you know, echo what the chair has said. If you've got, you know, evidence of that, please give it to the committees. They can take it on board. But certainly, I do think that we need this site, but we don't need the aggro. So if the people who've come to complain want us to take it further, we are happy to restrict, as somebody mentioned earlier on this evening, to restrict the hours and times that these vehicles come down. We have a primary school in that street. So we definitely need to look at a transport plan. You know, we have the shops, and we have down that road, Denmark Road, Cold Harbour Lane, we have ambulances flying down there. So we definitely need a workable transport plan. And if these residents who've come along can continue in their conversation with Councillor Williams, and I'm sure that we would support them in any way, in any shape or form, to actually make sure this is a safe development. And I'm sure Republica want that as well. So, yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you, Councillor, for you've answered that question. Thank you. I've got another question there. Councillor Hargrove.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I want to thank Councillor Dixon-Fowle for her presentation. I wanted to ask, following up for her description of the Valmar Road industrial estate as having quite a cacophony of noise. Do you know whether that noise used to take place at weekends at all?
Thank you, Councillor Hargrove. Let me first of all say Campbell is noisy. It's, you know, as I said, I mean, the hospital just down the road. I mean, it's a very noisy place. We've got the aircraft, the air path, etc. It's a very noisy place. But yes, I mean, even just recently with even with the COVID and the lockdown, we've had parties on, you know, open air places. So it's a very noisy. I mean, London is very noisy. You know, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say hand on heart, I can remember exactly one weekend when they had a party on that trading estate, but it's been noisy because I know of vehicles coming and going. That's been my experience over the last years when it was open. But as I said, this is a very noisy area. But I think as the three of us sat down, we discussed this and looking at the bigger picture for jobs, for housing, for our families who are really overcrowded. And to bring the area back to life, you know, having that new route through to Denmark Hill between a co-op and I think it's a charity shop, that would be absolutely brilliant. And if that could be lit as well, so it's a safe cut through, that would be amazing. So there's lots of positives. Having said that, though, I do, you know, recognise, and I do, you know, I want to reassure my constituents that we will, you know, work tirelessly to make sure we try and ameliorate as much as possible of their concerns and issues. And let me just say that Respublica do listen. They do listen, and we will keep on their backs.
Thank you very much, Councillor Farr, for your response. Are there further questions from the committee? If not, thank you very much. Thank you, Councillor. Thank you for your.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Pleasure. Can I, before I go to the next section, I just wanted to note to John Gort, I've sent you a message. If you could respond, I'd be most grateful. Can I now just move on? Now you've heard all the relevant speakers. Are there any questions that colleague members of the committee wish to raise? Councillor Whittam, I see you're, yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Sorry, just looking at paragraph 32 on page 112, which is in the conditions, condition 32, servicing hours and no coaches. If coaches come to the hotel, where can they park to disembark their passengers? Carry on.
Go ahead, Alex, go ahead.
The site actually has ample space, but this hotel, they're not encouraging block booking that will lead to coaches coming into there. I don't think they are encouraging block booking. So it is not anticipated that coaches will be coming onto here to drop people off at all. So just be normal light buses and so on that will come here, and they can turn around within the site in any event. But definitely, I don't think coaches will be coming onto this site.
Is there anywhere for a coach to stop anywhere outside the site?
There is actually, Councillor, because along the street opposite where the new development, where the the shopping mall is, Butterfly, that area, because it's a one-way sort of traffic arrangement on the loop there, even if coaches come, bearing in mind on that street, actually there's delivery base there anyway that coaches can utilize if necessary, or large vehicle. So they can go there and just come and drop people off. And the area as well is being improved in terms of pedestrian connection. The existing crossing is being moved towards northwards, towards this southwards, towards this development anyway, that will improve pedestrian crossing on both sides of the road.
Okay, thank you.
Right, just making sure I've covered everyone. Councillor Hargrove, did you want to ask a question?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yeah, my question is about conditions, and will we be able to condition that there are communication channels for the residents with during the construction period and on completion with the hotel itself.
I'm almost certain that's already in bill, but Vicky, if you would wish to respond.
Yes, during construction, that could be a requirement in the condition for a construction management plan. I'm just having a look to see whether that's specifically mentioned in there. It might be something that's required under the considerate contractors scheme, but if members wanted us to, we can amend that condition to specifically say that there has to be a 24-hour phone line during construction. And when the development is operational, it's anticipated that there would be a hotel and workspace management plan, which would include the outside areas as well. And we can require through that that there's a 24-hour contact for residents.
Okay. I'll note that as a additional condition. That's fine. Thank you. Further questions from committee members? Rightio. And Councillor Whittam, did you? No, okay, making sure. In that case, and I wonder if I can just get a response from John Gorters to my other question I put to you, John. In fact, let me just proceed in interest of time. I'm noting the exchange. Oh, John, yep, go ahead. Yes.
Sorry, Chair. I've just tracked down where your question was. Thank you for raising it. I think it's quite proper to raise it, but I don't think we crossed the line. But I can understand why you have raised it, but I don't think we've crossed the line there.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And just for clarification, I've noted that there had been an exchange in the messenger between a committee member and a member of the public. Obviously, we should not correspond with members of the public via the messenger, and of course, any communications of that kind is taken as part of these proceedings, and therefore they have the potential to interfere with the smooth running of the committee. So we should not respond to those questions, okay? Particularly if the outcome of those questions suggest that a pre-decision has been made, okay? So it's really important that we get this right. Now, can I now invite any further comments from committee members? Are there further comments, or are you happy for me to put forward a resolution with the conditions as suggested by Councillor Hargrove? Are you content? If you could indicate, please, I'd be grateful. Yeah.
Yes, Chair.
Thank you very much. In that case, and what I would do is follows. I would like to move that we adopt the officer's recommendations set out in paragraph 1 of the report and page 11 of the agenda pack. A, that the planning permission be granted subject to conditions and applications and the applicant entering into appropriate legal agreement. In the event that the requirement of A are not met by the 8th of March 2021, that the Director of Planning be authorised to refuse planning permission if appropriate for the reasons set out in paragraph 271 of the report. And just for the rider, and in addition to that, of course, with the additional condition that that there will be a 24-hour line that will be to which members of the public are able to communicate with the Republica or the construction companies. That's a fair condition. Is that right, John, Vicky, or Simon? Is that okay?
I was going to suggest, rather than an additional condition during construction management, that we amend the one that we've proposed at the moment to include a 24-hour line. And then for when the development is operational, that we ask for that to be included within the workspace and hotel management plan. It'll be an amendment to a condition rather than an additional one.
Fair enough. Thank you. Thank you.
And there is an additional condition in the addendum.
That's correct.
Obscure glazing.
That's right. I'm just going back to that, and of course, with the additional condition as noted in the addendum, as confirmed today. And I'm going to just make sure I've covered all the bases. That looks correct. That looks sufficiently tight. I'm happy to propose the motion as read out. Is there a seconder? Is there a seconder?
I'll second, Chair.
Very good. Thank you very much. And in that case, what I will do now is go through the usual roll call just to confirm who is for, against, or abstained. Okay, the motion. So if I now move to the roll call, Councillor Whittam, can you confirm that you are for, against, or abstain?
For, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Hargrove, for, against, abstain. Thank you.
Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Del Morris, for, against, abstain.
For, Chair.
Thank you very much. Councillor Marky Newin, for, against, abstain.
For, Chair.
Thank you very much. Councillor David O'Brien, for, against, abstain.
Abstain, Chair.
Very good. Councillor Catherine Rose, for, against, abstain.
For, Chair.
Very good. Councillor Darren Morell, for, against, abstain.
For, Chair.
Very good. And I vote for the motion. The motion is carried. Thank you all for your contribution to that application. What I will now do, I'll take a 5-minute break, and then we'll go into the next item.
Thank you.
Hello, it's the clerk again. If you could stay in the room, but keep your microphones muted. And if you are watching on the live stream will cut for 5 minutes and then it will recommence when the meeting recommences. Thank you.